So we're going to start our stream in a bit. Just setting up the live stream link. Let's see. Options. Streaming is difficult. Oh boy. So I'm sure I can figure out where this is. There we go. So that's my live link. I'm gonna take that and post it there. Then do post title, stream made in this part 2. Test of stream. Alright. Publish it now. Okay, there we go. So let's see. Where were we last time? Okay. So we had gone through creating the character names, descriptive names, and now we're going to go through the process of actually answering the questions. Okay. Oh, sorry, not answering, but constructing the questions, which is a fairly important part, because these are the questions which provide a large part of the context for the character. So the first question, I like to really define who the character is in large part. So in this case, the plucky old man, his backstory is that he took him a while to become Whistle. He kind of did it late in life. So you embraced what are we going to term it in this one? You embraced delving at a late age. What? I mean, we don't want to make it too esoteric, too broad. We kind of want to focus in on something. You embrace delving at a late, at an older age than most. What did you do before you were a delver at an older age? Okay. And then the needs to be question and then 3 lines, question, 3 lines. So unfortunately, when we write really long questions, it leaves less area to answer them, so we wanted to be them. So the first question is going to kind of give a backstory to them being a delver, or what their particular role is. I'm not sure I'm happy with that question as the first question. I might in fact move it to the second, but it's kind of part of the creative process, just kind of going back and forth. And then the 5th question is usually tying them into the particular adventure series that they're going to be going through. So in this case, we're going to say, and this might even be the same kind of question, why, so this character is a very, kind of almost a father figure, kind of protective parent, but at the same time, kind of allows them to, move on with their adventure. So I guess the question is, why would you be on this adventure? What skill do you bring to the table? And see, I'm a little stuck right here, so I'm going to go on to another character. I don't want to stick around too long on one character and just kind of keep, wondering about it. I don't want to waste too much time. Only got 30 minutes here. So let's see if we can't get a couple of these characters done. Skills scored by letter. So we'll pull that open. Nope, that stays there. No, that can go there. Okay. So this character is a movable lord. So definitely this character needs intimidation. Right. And in fact, interrogation is a good one. E before I. And then some sort of strength-based skill. Let's give them close combat. That feels. And then I mean, they really don't. Let's see. You don't want to go with endurance. Alright, so close combat, endurance, interrogation, and intimidation. So interrogation and intimidation can kind of be a little overlapping there. Same thing with endurance and close combat, but they're not exactly. And you could certainly pick out of these four combination that might give you what you want. So Immovable Lord, in fact, is in the anime and manga a character who really stays in one location, but for these purposes, they're going to venture forth. So, might even be able to answer the question: what convinced you to leave your post for the first time in 30 years and delve once more? Your sacred post. It's not exactly the word that I want, but I'll just go with it just to fill in some blanks here. Let's see. What ancient relic did you fuse with to gain your ability to withstand damage? Your ability to resist. Okay. So yeah, the Immovable Lord, again, spoilers, fuses with an ancient relic or some such that allows her to basically never get old and also be super strong. So, kind of cool one. Second and third questions usually like to be some sort of involvement with the character, digging a little bit deeper. So, for instance, how did your best friend die, and why did you help them? To do so. probably rephrase that better. But this is kind of a really broad question that requires a lot of explanation, so we're going to leave those three. We're going to try and make it as not as well, the opposite of wordy, so not verbose, but as contrite as possible. Why did your best friend die? Your best friend's daughter came to you for help. Look, I don't like the came to you in a state of distress. Or, don't want to do too many Y's. Although, got 2 whats and 1 Y at this point, so I suppose another Y wouldn't be too bad. Kind of like to spread out the, yeah, so why did you, to kill her? You know, for people who've read the manga or the anime, this may be, you know, obvious, it's kind of explained, all these questions, but the whole point of the light RPG is that you can take these questions that define who the character is, and you can completely change their motivation. You can change aspects about them, that you know, maybe you like it better that why did you threaten to kill her? So in the manga, it's to see if she's ready to delve deeper, but you could think of any sort of thing, especially if you're not big with you know, haven't read the manga yet or watched the anime. Maybe you're not familiar with this at all, but you might say, why did you threaten to kill her? Because honestly, I'm blanking, but when I give this to players, they come up with the most amazing answers that I never thought of, and that's kind of the point. Is sometimes with these, you know, themed character sheets, it really does seem to fall along a certain path. Heck, you could be like, she tried to steal your ancient relic, but we kissed and made up or something, you know. You know, there's that implication that you had a best friend, and that your best friend had a daughter, but there's nothing saying that that daughter has to be a good person. So maybe she is maybe the daughter in this case is the shitty person. There's nothing saying that the relationship between this character and another character, even that you're female. And then question 4, I really like to have that be more of a relationship within the group question. So, a member of your party once stole something from you. What was it, and why did you forgive them? So obviously, again, that can tie into the one before. You know, your friend's daughter tried to steal something from you. You threatened to kill him, but you eventually forgave that daughter. Or it could be a completely different person, right? So there we go. Now we have a complete character sheet. This is completely filled out from my end, and you know, I can print this off, give it to a player, have them fill it out, and have them really come up with, you know, interesting and unique takes on the character. So, and again, this 18 plus here is really more tied to the stories that this character will be involved in. It doesn't say necessarily anything about the character sheet per se. So you could have a completely innocuous character sheet, and then you could have another one that is just, you know, grotesque. But it's really about the adventures that they're going to be going on. And so Made in Abyss is a adult story. It's about children, but it's an adult story about really, you know, delving into the abyss, almost literally, going down into hell. And so it's very realistic in its portrayal of, you know, what that kind of stress that would put on someone's body, you know, blood and guts and all that stuff. So not in a gory or excessive way, but really just in a in a very realistic way. Okay, so the father figure, that's Bone Druid, Bone Daddy. So see, and that's another thing, is like when I read the father figure and I think about the anime, I want to be able to I really want to be able to just say, okay, yes, that character is, I know who that character is just by reading the descriptive title at the top. So we're going to pick his abilities here, his skills. And again, these are starting skills, so they help me define the character. But once you've picked the two, you can, in the game, you can always pick different ones. So you could take, the Immovable Lord down here, and you could immediately, after picking, close combat and interrogation, you could pick herbology, or door security, or explosives, or whatever you feel really helps your character progress. You're the one who's taking over from that point. These two starting skills are really just kind of the background, and also give new players something to kind of latch onto when they're starting. So, Bone Dread definitely has Activate Technology, which is a skill that lets you, he finds an ancient relic and he knows how to use it. That's kind of a key part of his character. He's very unethical, but communications might be a good one, or supposedly not. Deception, maybe. That's a good one for now. Let's go with that. Human biology, yes, there we go. Which differentiates it from straight up biology, which would be like just a more general thing. Human biology is very specific, and so by saying human biology, if you take that, you can take biology, but it's overlapping. Human biology becomes somewhat useless in the context of that. So generally, I don't like to hand out broad subjects like biology. I like alien biology, or human biology, or robotics, or reptile study, or something like that. I like something a little bit more specific. But you also don't want it to be too specific that it never comes up. And then maybe what else do I have here? So right now, what I'm doing is I'm looking at a list of skills that I've thought up in the past, and it's not exactly a comprehensive list. I'm sure there are skills that I haven't thought of, but I'm going to go with intimidation, because he is pretty intimidating. 1, 2, 3, 4, good. So this character definitely why did you sacrifice your soul? Maybe more like, what powerful ability did you sacrifice your soul to attain? So that's a bit broad. Kind of gives them a bit too much leeway, but instead of ability, what powerful artifact did you sacrifice your soul to control? Gain control over. Okay. Not happy with the wording too much, but we'll just go with that for now. So then the second question is one of those personal ones. So although you have never had a daughter, well, there is a young there was a young girl who looked on you as a father figure. Why did you mutilate her body? And that might be a little bit too on point. Again, this is an adult concept. Spoilers. He takes children and basically chops them down into, I guess, what he considers to be the core part of their soul, and then keeps them alive that way and shoves them in boxes and carries them around in order to protect himself from the effects of the abyss. So, he does all this horrible things for science. So he's the mad scientist character. Why? Kill in a box. And that might be better. It's a little bit more, pointed, which kind of blunts the horror of it. You have the ability to transfer your soul to you sacrifice your consciousness. I'm not going to spell that right. There we go. Thank you, autocorrect. To other bodies, to willing hosts. What happened to your... And that might actually be a better question 1. Move that up to question 1, because question 1 is a little broad, and that's a little bit more pointed to it, but we'll figure it out later. So 5, let's look at other ones. I'll convince you to leave your cigarette and delve once more. So, your priest is everything to you. Why did you abandon? Did I already use abandon? No, I didn't. Why did you abandon it to go delving? So, number 5 at this point is really, I like it to be similar, at least across all the character sheets. And at this point, number 5 is really kind of getting to the heart of why your character is there with the others. And let's see, for one member of your group. Somebody's already a scientist. One other delver knows about your experiments. Why haven't you killed them yet? Which here implies that you would kill them. You have the ability to. I like more wordy. Okay, so this one's okay. I'm not totally thrilled with it yet, but it's it's there. It's something. It's done. A lot of the work I do in these character sheets, I try to make at least 16 a month. So like I said in the previous video, I once made 54 of them in like a day or two. The Wednesday and Thursday before the Friday of convention started. So I really threw those together quickly, and I actually am pretty happy with all of them. I only had to make a few minor tweaks after that. But one of the things is just to get them done. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be balanced. These aren't Dungeons and Dragons classes where if the rogue and the barbarian are not balanced, the rogue's gonna, if the rogue is a weaker class and just can't contribute as much, he's gonna feel bad because of it. Every character in this game contributes something to the game, something to the adventure, and no matter how these questions are portrayed, the player can always take them in an interesting direction. If they're very creative about it, and your skills is really where you contribute. So as long as the skills roughly equivalent, and even then you can fairly easily buy a new skill and make that your like primary method of interaction, kind of catch up with other people really quickly. I mean, there's no reason why, if close combat is a big deal in the game, why everyone can't get close combat. But all right, so the Peter Pan, I guess 5 is going to be why did you take a leave of absence from your job? So obviously, like, why did you take a leave of absence? That's a little bit less on point, because the other ones were, why did you abandon your research? Obviously, because whatever I'm looking for is more important, but you can add specifics to it. But why did you leave your job? Well, to go delving, so that's not right. But obviously, he's no longer at the orphanage. You know what? I like this. Who did, which of the children, which child did you place in charge of the orphanage? While you went delving. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. So here it kind of gives them the opportunity to make up a character back home that they may in fact check in with every once in a while. So that's an interesting part of this character. We want to kind of define who they are. You were once a up and coming, a aspiring delver, but you gave it all up. Gave it all up to run an orphanage. Obviously the kids mean a lot to him, so what was the last Aether relic that you found? It's kind of a weak one, doesn't really tie into his character as much, but can't all be great literature. You have had an on again, off again relationship with the village doctor. Again, I don't like to necessarily declare sexes or relationship status. This could be a female character in love with a boy, could be a boy in love with a girl, could be a boy in love with a boy. Completely up to the person running the game and then the people in the game to be okay with whatever it is they're doing. But I don't like to necessarily force that issue. Sometimes I will say something like, my character's called the farm boy, right? But that's really because they play up to the farm boy stereotype more so than the farm girl stereotype. So there's different stereotypes, tropes associated with those characters. And so the farm boy might be, the one who has to get up and work really hard in the morning. He never gets to go out with all the people and have fun. And that's not exactly the same stereotype for the farm girl, for example. So sometimes I'll label them that way. And this is like the Peter Pan. So obviously Peter, that's a boy's name. So and Peter Pan is the boy, the Peter Pan stories. So obviously this, sounds like a boy character, but you could certainly make it a girl. You could make it, anything you really wanted. Don't like to necessarily dictate that stuff to the players. So we're past the 30-minute mark here. So see how many characters we got done. So we kind of worked on Plucky Old Man, but didn't really finish it. I kind of feel like I could go back and finish that now, but we'll save that for the next one. So we've got 2 characters done out of 8, which is pretty good. If I wasn't talking about it as I was doing it, I'm actually a lot faster. But at the same time, I feel like talking about it and kind of engaging with the world at large about this is important for my sanity doing this, rather than just sitting in a room by myself and working on these characters. I need to reach out. Alright, so thank you so much for listening, and consider donating to Patreon or just checking us out on our Twitter or Instagram, or sending us an email if you have any questions that we can't answer publicly, I suppose. I don't know why I put the email on there, but yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.